I wanted to fly. I grew up during the Top Gun era.
Oh, yeah.
My dad was a pilot.
The real Top Gun, not the new one.
Yeah. Well, actually, the new one I thought was pretty good.
It was very good.
But so I was in Civil Air Patrol, which is
No kidding.
It's like ROTC if you're not familiar with it. It's like Air Force Auxiliary kind of deal. So I went kind of all the way through that program, and so I was around a lot of Air Force bases, a lot of enlisted and officers, and so that was kind of my goal. Is I wanted to be a fighter pilot.
Yeah.
The unfortunate, right around age 15, my eyes went very poorly, and I think it's still the standard that you got to have 20/20 as just a minimum.
Right.
And I do not have 20/20. I can see about this far.
Yep.
So far, I have evaded, presbyopia. So, because if they both hit, if I can't, So anyway, so far I don't need reading glasses. But if I took my contacts out, I would be nearly blind. We grew up in Gainesville, Georgia. My mom and dad married. I have one sibling, a brother.
Okay.
And my dad died a month after Candace and I got married. So it's been.
Okay.
We've been married now. We're about to hit 29 years this time. So.
Yeah. Wow.
But,
what did your dad do?
He was a pilot.
Okay. He was full time. I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So that was his career. He was a charter pilot, aircraft sales, he had flight instructors that worked under him, and they would do flight school. Well, my mom mostly assisted and helped my dad. She kind of manned the desk kind of deal.
Yep.
But my dad had a very strong work ethic, and to the extent where he was always busy, even when he was home. So it was always kind of he was very much a handy person, and he was always tinkering with something, fixing something, and it was a continuous thing for him. So interestingly enough, my brother went to North Georgia College, which was just down the road.
I was just saying, right there,
15 minutes from the house. So they wanted me to go there. And I did not want to live at home. And fortunately, I was in the band in high school, and my godparents, who my godfather went to high school with my dad, they were big into the Redcoat band at Georgia. And so they helped me make the case to go to Georgia. And it wasn't until, I got accepted at Georgia, but it wasn't until, 2 months prior to first day that I got them to agree and was able to actually do it.
So you flew right under the radar, huh?
Yeah. So and it was actually, incidentally, that was the first class. Our class was the first class eligible for the Hope Grant, which eased the argument and the transition. So yes, I did want to go to Georgia, but I wasn't sure I was going to be able to pull it off. I wanted to be a lawyer. My dad was not thrilled with it. He did, for whatever reason, he did not want me to be an attorney. I was still working to that end. But he actually, the summer between my college and law school is when he passed. So he knew I was going to go to law school. He was not too excited about that. But yes, so when the fighter pilot idea was gone, and probably sometime in my freshman year, the biggest difference is I went to law school to be a litigator. And because I loved, kind of organized debate and argument and structured, making those arguments. But and I did a lot of extemporaneous speech type stuff in college, Demosthenian Society, and even when I got to law school, I did the Trial Lawyers Association and moot court, and started out in litigation, and now I find myself in the transaction world, which is kind of funny. Yeah, so I was fortunate enough, and I can't remember if I did it as a 2L or just as a 3L, because I had two jobs during law school, but not at the same time. So I clerked for a judge for a while, and then I clerked for a law firm at the end. I think it was just my 3L year that I clerked for the law firm. Yeah. So I was able to just move right in. Now the interesting thing is, so right after law school, you're not an attorney because you have to take the bar. Got it. So I had to. I took basically a 3-month leave, and did nothing but study for the bar. And then, but the interesting thing is that even once you've taken the bar, you still don't know. And so I had there was, I think, 3 of us that were associates, or not associates. We were, I guess, clerks at that point.
Yeah. 3
clerks who had passed law school, taken the bar, but don't know the answer, and you don't get to keep your job if you didn't pass. So, and one of us,
dead man walking. For a bit.
And one of us, unfortunately, of the 3 of us, did not.
Oh no,
which was terrible. So it's like, oh gosh, but yeah. So that was my first job. My salary was $55,000 a year, and I thought I was loaded.
How am I ever going to spend all this?
Yeah. I thought I had hit the lottery. I was like, oh my gosh, this is a ton of money.
Yes.
Oh yeah. So my first few years practicing law, I mean, especially at that firm, I represented bars and churches.
In that order?
Yeah, and more specifically, we represented insurance companies who insured bars and churches.
Okay.
And it made, I tell you, I've had I think a good career, but I don't think anything was more entertaining than the period of time that I represented bars and churches.
I could believe that for a lot of obvious reasons.
At one point, I had a case that involved a professional wrestler that had his own action figure, and I thought that was the coolest thing ever. I was like, I never thought that I would be involved in a case with a man who has his own action figure.
What a time to be alive.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, I've always lived up on the north side of town,
Okay.
And so I didn't love the commute. So when I made the switch from litigation to transactions,
Yep.
I came up. Really, I lived in Forsyth County, but I did everything pretty much in Alpharetta.
Yep.
So we couldn't yet afford to
fair.
live in the city even then.
Yeah.
It's even harder now especially for young guys and,
Yep.
and ladies, but. But anyway, so I was wanting. We ultimately we selected Alpharetta because it was, had great schools, low crime.
Yep.
It was convenient to a lot of areas up here.
Yeah.
And ultimately, obviously, we chose to get heavily engaged in the community.
Yeah. What year would that have been?
So we moved to Alpharetta in 2005. It's kind of 2 pictures, and one picture was the kind of the instigating picture, and one picture was the one that I told people about that needed to be fixed. And they had, a lot of times cities do, and unfortunately they still do sometimes. They'll pay $100,000 for a study, listen to it, present it to them, and then they'll stick it on the shelf. And,
Shelf help.
Yeah, it's like, oh, that's awesome. That was a great study.
Uh-huh.
But in this particular case, they had, and it was the Sizemore Group, which is still around, I believe.
Yeah.
And they had done a study on converting the old high school site, which is now Independence High School there. Wait, no, it's not Independence. It's, what's it called? The one right there, Innovation Academy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the old
Milton High School site.
Yep.
And it's 40 acres. And the idea was because it was known that high school was going to no longer be, a traditional public high school, and the idea is that the county might offload it. That's 40 acres. We never had anything really of a downtown, mainly because the city grew from about 3,000 in population in the mid '80s to what is now 67,000. So you see the huge, the city's been around since 1858, but the population has not.
Huh.
And so but the picture was awesome, and it really just kind of, because I told you that we chose Alpharetta because it checked all our boxes, right? It had the low crime, the good schools, it was convenient. It was great place to live, but what it didn't have is any there, and the way I started when I first ran for council, I would tell people, I was like, look, close your eyes and think Alpharetta. Tell me what comes to mind. And this was before Avalon, before downtown. This was before the changes that have happened in the city. And now you could think of 100 things that could go on that postcard. But at the time, the answers I would get was 400. the mall,
Yeah.
Old Milton Parkway. I mean, those were the most prominent answers. And the
staples,
fact of the matter is there was nothing. In fact, in the same floor is the Alpharetta Conventions and Visitors Bureau. And their whole job is to sell the city to people who don't live in the city, right?
Yep.
And they had a brochure that the best they could come up with. There was two different photographs. One was a 3-tiered black painted fountain, which you can find anywhere. We still have that fountain, by the way.
Okay.
But so there was the fountain. You could have the fountain shot. The other was a strategic shot down the facade of one particular group of buildings to make it look like we had a true downtown, which we didn't.
We were big time.
So they're really even for they were doing the best they could, but even for an organization that is supposed to sell the city, there was no picture to sell the city with. And the point is that there needed to be a heart and a soul to the city, not just checking boxes. And most people who chose Alpharetta, who lived in Alpharetta, I'll certainly say prior to 2012, were doing what I did. They picked Alpharetta for one or all the same reasons that our family chose Alpharetta.
Yep.
This is kind of funny. So I ran for council, got on, won by 77 votes. It was not a
landslide.
It was not a mandate. It was a very, very slim margin. But I had promised, and this is, keep in mind, I'm like 30 years old at this point. And I had promised that, within 100 days, I knew I couldn't accomplish those things in 100 days. Right. I'm going to present a plan within 100 days of how we get it done. And the problem is that the council that was there at the time, for the most part, they had not. This was completely out of character, and I didn't know what to do, how to do it, and so I had reserved some time on the agenda. I got up off the dais, and because I didn't know any better, and I walked around to the podium. And I had pictures and everything, and I presented to the council
that you were a part of,
and I was a part of, and they weren't. I know the mayor was not thrilled with this at all. I think that's where any potential. From that point forward, I was the least favorite of on the council, but it was what I felt like needed to happen, and so. But as a councilman, I led 2 efforts to redo downtown. Both of them failed.
That's wild.
One of them failed because the economy took a dive just at the right or the wrong time. Yep. And then the second time, our funding mechanism ended up, which was a tax allocation district, came under litigation with the Beltline, and by the time it got resolved, the agreements that we had secured with the Board of Education and with the county had expired, and so they weren't willing to re-up. So twice we tried, couldn't do it, and then the third time I ran, for mayor on that very platform that we needed to. We had a downtown that was designed for a population of about 1,000 to 1,500 people, and if we were going to be a city, a true city, that could create generational significance, there was going to have to be more than just good schools, low crime, and a convenient location, because that's not irresistible. That's convenient.
Correct.
When you're trying to, we wanted to engage. One of the reasons we moved into Alpharetta is because before we lived in Forsyth, and we just lived in a neighborhood, in a sprawling area. There was no there either. But we wanted to. Now we lived in a city, and we wanted to engage in the city. And Rotary then, as I do believe now, is really the chief community element. And I believe we need more of that. In the past, I've said things about Roswell that are not always complimentary. I love Roswell, but one of the things that I want to brag, and I have bragged about Roswell, is that they have a tremendous number of community organizations. They obviously have their Rotary Club, but they also have the Women's Club. They have different garden clubs. They have different. There's a lot of I would say maturity within the community of community organizations that you can serve in, be a part of. And that's not to say we don't have some of that here, but we don't have as much of it as Roswell does. And I think that needs to change, because that's how you start putting down roots. When you start serving a community, it becomes part of you. And so what I loved about Rotary Club then, and still love about Rotary Club, it is the primary element of community. You've got the churches, and that's fantastic, and I'm glad they're here. But outside the churches, I'm sure there's other things. I know there's a Lions Club and other things, but this is the primary community element, and that's one of the things. We did this when I was mayor, and led the effort last year, and I'm leading the effort this year to do the Alpharetta Day of Service, and the drive behind that is, I think Rotary Club stands in an excellent position to be the point of the spear, not just for Rotarians, but for people at large in the community, people as part of churches or other civic organizations, to lead into serving the organizations around us, whether it be Lionhearts Club, whether it be Norfolk Community Charities or Meals by Grace, but finding ways to connect and engage around and in the community. And so I think there's a huge role for the club to play, and they have been playing that. But I would like to see it. I would like to see it go beyond just volunteers in our own group, but enlisting volunteers outside our group, and leading, being point in those endeavors. Yeah, I mean, I've enjoyed and had the opportunity to serve on a lot of the different projects we've done throughout the years, but I would say the two things that hit me the most, one is the Day of Service, because I see the potential in that. The other is, and this is fairly new, is the Alpharetta Foundation.
ROFO.
Nothing against, gosh, I'm drawing a blank.
It could be Polar Bear Plunge, MCC.
No. Hold on. Paul Harris. Gosh.
The international.
The brain is starting to fog at times. But nothing against the Paul Harris and the international endeavors. Those are important. But for me, the idea of having funds spent right here in our community, in and around our community, and determined by the people in our own club as to what they see, the needs they see. Those are the two things that have hit me the most in terms of what the club is doing and can do. Maybe that change wouldn't be the next. I guess what I like about the club versus other Rotary clubs is that this one continues to engage younger folks. I was given a talk, I don't know, last week I think it was, to a group of entrepreneurs and in Alpharetta, and they made some off comment about, like, this isn't the Rotary Club, and it was an age comment, and I was like, so at first I thought, I'm David Belle, a member of the Alpharetta Rotary Club. But there is a persona. But this club has done really well. I mean, I joined it at 30. And it has done well over the years, having that young professional. Obviously, we have people of all ages in the club, and that's great. But it's active and it's engaged, and it's not a passive group. And most people find, I serve on do a lot of the Vision Warrior stuff. Some people do the bread thing, and most people find a few different outlets where they can serve and engage. And that I think it's. But I've seen a lot of Rotary clubs, and I've never seen one that I'd more want to be a part of than this one. So it wasn't always like that.
That's wild.
And one of the things, like, especially in the lead up to doing downtown and doing Avalon, one of the things we really ramped up was events, even more so than what we have presently. But we brought on Wire and Wood, we brought on Brew Moon, we did the food truck alley. We were trying everything. The Christmas tree lighting was not just a flip the switch. It was a community engagement where churches came. We brought choirs and handbells, and we had campfires in the streets, and you could do the s'mores and stuff. And all of that was trying to do was to bring people and connect them to their community. We knew downtown and the physical aspects of a downtown are important, but it's about almost like a memory imprint of not just the adults but the kids, because the idea is to create a city where the kids that are growing up here want to come back and raise their kids here, and that the way you do that, the way you create that connection, because you think about it, there are some exceptions, but nearly everybody who lives in Alpharetta grew up somewhere else. And
Oh, yeah, very
this,
transient.
so this is not where they grew up.
Yep.
And so creating a city that is so irresistible that the kids that are growing up today want to make it their goal to come back and raise their kids there. And so those events are critical to creating that generational significance. And so, yeah, you see that now, and I love seeing that.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that Rotary plays a part in that too. 10, 20 years ago, if you felt like you were in, quote, Atlanta, you felt like you have given up the idea of a small town.
Huh.
But I don't think that people think that anymore, because you can have both. You can be in the Atlanta area and still be part of a community in a small town. And I think that's really where the value is like you have all the amenities and opportunities that a greater metro area presents,
Right.
whether it be your job, your career, your business, whatever it is.
Yep.
But at the same time, you have the opportunity to nestle down into a particular community, engage full force in that community, and become known around you. Because the worst thing that can happen in an area like Atlanta, and certainly in the smaller towns that make up Atlanta, is that you go to work, you come home, you drive into the garage, you put it down, and that's it. That nobody knows you, nobody knows you're there. You're known by your coworkers, and then you travel some other state for your family, and that's not a way to live.
No.
And a lot of people do live that way. But I think the resurgence of towns like Alpharetta, and I like to think that Alpharetta, has led the way in that respect.
Yeah.
That's showing people that it can be done differently, that you don't have to be, the person who hides behind the garage door, but you can engage not just with neighbors, which is also important, but with your entire community. And I think that's what you're seeing here in Alpharetta. I think there's a lot of mentorship opportunities. I mean, you see people, people who are in Rotary, they're obviously not identical, but there is a similar and common strain in everyone who is part of Rotary. And so to see kind of your future self really in the older Rotarians, because they've been where you've been, and they're probably more likely than just any other person in the community to kind of share with you, how they got where they're going, with the mistakes they've made, and how to, especially if they happen to be in the same, field as you are. So I think that's the biggest thing. There's a ton to learn. If you come in as a 30-year-old, there's a ton to learn from those around you if you take the time to engage.
Yep.
You're going to have to probably do a little bit more than show up for the meeting and leave. But there's plenty of opportunities for mentorship. And I think there's a big, I know it's on the guy side. I'll let women speak for women.
That's fair.
But there is a huge need, either maybe your own father situation wasn't all that great, or maybe you just need additional, mentorship. But among men, I think there is a huge need and a lack of mentorship opportunities where an older is advising a younger. And so I think that if I were talking to my 30-year-old self, it's like find some folks in here and let them mentor you, engage with them. I mean, I journal a lot,
really?
which is good. Not just for the moment, but like occasionally I'll go back and look, what I journaled about 5, 10, 20 years ago, and you kind of get back in your own head. And that's one of the things but things do change though career-wise. I mean, our firm merged a little over a year ago, and it's an opportunity and a challenge, because now I've got opportunity to bring in some associates to help me in my work.
Right.
But learning how to let go, I'm still working on that. I thought I'd be a little further along on that, but it's very hard. I've been practicing law now for I guess this is my 26th year, which is crazy. I've always been, holding
White
on.
knuckles.
Yeah. And now I'm trying to, we've got some great associates, and they're doing a fantastic job. But it is not easy to let go.